George Clanton is a chillwave, synthwave, vaporwave, dream pop, shoegaze artist, you could even say, who broke onto the scene with his excellent album in 2018, which is only really getting better as time goes on. Like, that album Slide is so magnificent in how it sounds and how huge and how it just like cascades and washes over you in such a great way. It's so youthful, it radiates such an energy that I don't think many other albums in the 2010s really quite captured. It truly is up there for me as being one of the best of the decade, and yeah, it's just getting better with time, you know. Living Loose, Make It Forever, these tracks are just some of my favorites of all time at this point. Like, there's so much to love about that album. And I'm so glad that it grew on me the way it did, because initially I thought it was cool, but as time went on, I just felt so fixated on how it sounds and how George's vocals just feel so eternal. I could talk about it all day, honestly. It's such a fantastic album, and we are here with a brand new one. We did, of course, get that collab album from a few years back, which I thought was pretty terrible, to be honest with you. So I was very excited to see George just go solo again. And having heard I've Been Young prior to the album, I was like, yeah, okay, we're back on it. We're back on it. And Urapaya, which sounds a lot better the way he says it on the title track than saying the title of the album out loud. I will say that is an album that I think has set himself up to be a generational talent, honestly. Like, I don't think we quite have many other artists that are fulfilling this sound, fulfilling the criteria of creating this huge atmosphere in this kind of way, and doing it on that level as of George at the moment. I think he is quite a generational talent, to be honest with you. I think he's something special, and I think this new album, while I don't quite like it as much as Slide, you're basically comparing an amazing album to a great album, so it's a pointless comparison anyway when both of them are so good. Everything I Want just immediately kicks things into gear, really, with the huge wall of sound that just kind of blasts your ears, but in such a delicate way at the same time as well. He has a great way of just sort of bringing these huge sounds together that feel so massive and loud, but also just having a really like cloudy, pillowy sort of undertone to all of it. But I really like the lyrics on this track too. It seems simplistic, but the idea I think is pretty beautifully executed. This idea of just basically having almost everything you could possibly need, but not having that one person that you just really desperately need to kind of complete everything that you've got in your own life. And then of course when he's talking about towards the end of the track of like closing his eyes and only being able to see this person, yeah, it's really beautifully put together, honestly. It's such a great track, such a great opening track to the album. Already feels like that hopeless romanticism is just kind of breaking through onto the album. The youthful aspect as well is just so lively and in your face with how he presents the lyrics, but it sounds great, it sounds beautiful, and it's, yeah, so good. Punching Down, the 80s synths on this one sound great. There are lots of tracks that kind of pull from different eras, and you're like, oh, that really gets me thinking of this, that really gets me thinking of that. And this track for me definitely gets me on that sort of wave. But what I love about it is the way he like gets his vocals to just echo in such a great way, and it's just like this everlasting sort of feeling that you just feel like his vocals will just live on forever and just keep going. It's such an amazing effect that, like I say, you don't really seem to be hearing other artists doing it as well as this. Like, his voice just has this like bellow to it that just feels like it just carries on, it travels through your veins. It's so good. It's such a great feeling hearing this. The track Justify Your Life I think is fantastic as well. I mean, the whole album is just great. Like, I'll keep saying this, honestly, but I've got to mention Connor here for pointing out the fact that the chorus is a dead ringer for Some Tears for Fears. I didn't pick up on it until he said it, but Jesus Christ, that is such a dead ringer, man. Like, anything from their songs from the Big Chair album, which is just an amazing album, one of my favorites ever, just feels like, again, the way they channel their energy through the choruses and everything just feels so like you're singing the last words of your life and you just have to get it out of you as soon as you possibly can, and the world's about to end. Like, every chorus on that album feels that way, and this track right here, it just exactly feels the same way. It's so bloody good. The sort of shuffling beat brings in a bit of like a Baggy sound, which I'm noticing a lot more at the moment in music, where people are really pulling back this Baggy Manchester sound, which is really cool to see, because Hatchie was doing it. We're seeing even like James Ivy pull bits from that as well, and of course George Clanton is back here doing it too. I'm really glad to see that this is making its way in a really creative way. Like, it's not like they're just replicating the sound and just like, you know, doing that sound and only that sound. It's like they're meshing it with these other dreamy sounds and making it sound better than it ever really used to, dare I say. I'm not from Manchester, and I don't have really geographical biases when it comes to music. If it just sounds good, it sounds good. But I know for a fact there'll be somebody from Manchester that watches my videos going, "How dare you say that?" But honestly, hear me out, man. I might be kind of cooking with that opinion, you know. Yeah, just kind of going on from there. You know, you found the key, you hold the key and I found it. That track is just magnificent as well. Really love the way you can just get lost in these tracks. Like, you can just close your eyes, sit back and really get lost in some of them just with how beautiful they sound. You've also got the Vapor King sub-real sort of crossover track, which once it gets into the sub-real part, like it kind of breaks into this like garage type beat, which is a really creative usage of that as well. So you're not just getting one trick coming through from George here. He's really pushing his sound a little bit further to bring out some new ideas, and it sounds great there as well. I've Been Young, I've already mentioned. Absolutely stellar song, just an amazing lead single to set things up. Really love the way the echoey vocals come through. Really love the way as well it just exuberates, is that even the right word? Youthfulness. It radiates youthfulness. It just makes you feel like you are relating to everything he's saying. He's reflecting back on his old self, kind of putting an arm around his younger self and kind of just looking back and going, I probably should have done that. I probably could have done this better. I know I've made mistakes and there's regrets, but it's just a way to kind of look back on it all and just think, you know what, that could have been better, but now I'm a bit older. I see that past self and know where I went wrong and things. It's a really reflective track, despite the fact that, you know, if you were just kind of listening to it just on a musical level, you might not even be paying attention to what he's saying, because like the way the vocals just mesh so well with the instrumentation, it just washes over you in such a cool way. But digging deeper into it, there's a lot of beauty behind what he's saying on this song. More artists should honestly do songs like this where they're just reflecting on the mistakes they made, you know, like a Jason Isbell type way. It's always great to hear that kind of stuff come through in music. It's such a really, really beautiful writing tool. But yeah, then you've got the two tracks that have features on. Negi Jemmy is, I think, how you say it. Seriously, underrated album from this year. That Negi Jemmy album was great. Like, really, really good stuff on that thing. Really cool to see that they've collaborated on here as well. Really cool track. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Chemical Brothers, actually, this song. Something that they'd have done from the 90s. And then, of course, you've got Hatchie at the end of this album, which is a great reference point here, considering some of the comparisons I was making to the most recent Hatchie album with the sort of like Baggy sound coming through in some places. Their fit is just perfect. They obviously make music in the same universe as one another, and of course they had to put something together here. Really, it just makes sense. I will say I wish we got a bit more of like a solidified feature from Hatchie. She's doing some amazing stuff with her vocals. It sounds so rich and luxurious, and it's such a stunning sound, like a stunning backdrop to the track. But because I'm such a big Hatchie fan, I wouldn't have minded hearing that, as well as her do more of like you know, of maybe like a verse, or maybe of like a, I don't know, a chorus rather than just being the backdrop. But even still, what they delivered was really good. And yeah, I mean, aside from wanting more Hatchie, I can't really fault this album on much of a general level. I think it's great. I think it's one of the best I've heard this year. And yeah, he's kind of killed it again, hasn't he? He's just such a great talent who's putting this sound down in a way that I think is really inspirational, and I think sounds magnificent. Sounds like nothing really else that's going on in this sound either. And yeah, he's just killing it, man. This is another really good album from him. He's proven himself to be one of the best around, and yeah, 8 out of 10. Easy 8 out of 10 from me. Thank you for watching this review. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you agreed. Hopefully you can comment below and tell me what you think. If you disagree, please let me know as well. Please subscribe if you haven't already. That would be wonderful to have more people in the comments on my videos. And check out this album if you haven't already. Check out my Patreon if you haven't already. And goodbye. Have a good day. Goodbye.